Good evening, and tonight we're taking a closer look at a tense and revealing moment from Capitol Hill, where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent faced sharp questioning over healthcare, taxes, and who really benefits from what Republicans proudly call the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, and to the ranking member. Mr. Secretary, good afternoon. Does taking health care away from 16 million Americans lower prices for working families, yes or no?
I'm not sure what that question means.
The bill, the big, beautiful bill that was passed by this committee and the majority of the Republicans in the House would eliminate health care for 16 million Americans. I'm asking, does that lower the cost for working families, yes or no?
Again, which cost? Oil, fuel cost, food cost?
Household cost.
Sorry?
The cost that households have to cover every month. Middle class working people.
Again, I disagree with the characterization.
So the answer is no, the bill doesn't deal with that.
Well,
Can you name
answer.
one rural community whose hospital will be strengthened by this one big, beautiful bill? Just one, yes or no?
Again, I'm not HHS, but I will be happy to get to you on that.
I would appreciate that answer. 16 million people stand to lose health care. That's thousands of hospitals that will be affected. We're talking about jobs and families that will be impacted. Worse, we're dealing with these tariffs, which are taxes that Americans pay, which are raising the cost on medical equipment, putting further strain on rural hospitals in my district, but yet the billionaires under this plan will still get their tax break. Mr. Secretary, under the bill, who gets the most benefits? A billionaire with a complex tax return or a working parent with one W-2?
Under President Trump's first term, a greater...
Not the first term.
Well,
I'm asking under this bill.
Including this bill, in terms of percent, as opposed to absolute numbers, in terms of percent, working families will have a greater...
Well, in fact,
increase.
Mr. Secretary, every credible outside estimator says that the wealthiest win under this proposal and working people and the poor lose. They pay more. Working people pay more. That's the story of this big, beautiful bill. Help the ultra-rich and leave everyone else paying the price. Are you yourself a beneficiary of any provision in this bill? Will you personally receive a tax cut under the provisions of under this bill?
Two things, Congressman.
Yes or no? It's a simple...
We had a referendum on November 5th, and
Mr.
working
Secretary,
Americans
yes or
voted
no?
for President
Reclaiming
Trump.
my time.
And
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman.
Two,
Mr. Chairman, I'm reclaiming my time.
And two...
So, Mr. Secretary, it's
I-
my time, Mr. Secretary. I'm asking you a yes or no question.
I'm trying to answer you, and...
It's a yes or no question.
Saying it louder does not elicit an answer.
Well, not answering the question at all proves that you're evasive. Are you the head, the person that's the head of overseeing the implementation of our tax code, a beneficiary under the provisions of, any provisions of this bill?
Again, this is an extension of an existing bill.
So are you a beneficiary?
This is an extension.
Okay, I will take that as a no. Mr. Secretary,
question,
did the TCJA help increase the supply of housing? Yes or no?
sorry?
Did the TCJA help increase the supply of housing? Yes or no?
I don't know. And
According to the Federal Reserve of Philadelphia, comparing the pre- and post-TCJA housing market, they found that between January of 2015 to October of 2019, housing construction, in fact, slowed under TCJA. So, Mr. Secretary, do tariffs on steel, aluminum, and lumber raise the cost of construction? Yes or no?
Again, on the housing point, the interest rates went up because the economy was stronger.
And under this proposal...
Inflation was nascent.
And under a budget report that just came out from the Yale Budget Lab, they just released data showing that because of the debt that is going to be added by this big, ugly bill, mortgage rates will increase. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware that
This bill is a
I'm aware that the
disaster
Inflation
for the
Reduction
people
Act,
of
which I
Nevada
would guess you
who are
voted for.
struggling with the cost of rent and the ability to afford housing. These are the pressing issues that my constituents are concerned about, and I hope that this administration understands the impact of the negative consequences of their proposal.
This administration very
I
much
yield
understands
back.
the impacts on working Americans, and that's why working Americans voted for President Trump.
If you watch the hearing live, you probably noticed the interruptions, the talking over each other, and the repeated yes or no questions that never quite got a straight answer. But beneath the noise was a much bigger story about policy choices and their real-world consequences for working families, rural communities, and the ultra-wealthy. And before we go any further, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our breakdowns of what Congress does and how it affects your life. The exchange began with a direct question. Does eliminating healthcare coverage for 16 million Americans lower costs for working families? On its face, that question gets to the heart of a long-running debate in Washington. Supporters of deep spending cuts often argue that reducing government involvement lowers costs overall. Critics counter that when people lose coverage, families pay more out of pocket, and hospitals absorb losses that ripple through entire communities. Secretary Bessent did not answer yes or no. Instead, he questioned what costs meant, listing fuel, food, and household expenses. That move matters because it highlights a common tactic in policy debates, shifting the frame. By narrowing the definition, officials can avoid addressing the broader economic impact of losing health coverage, including medical debt, delayed care, and hospital closures. If you want more clear explanations like this, hit subscribe now so you stay informed. The congressman then pressed further, asking for a single rural community whose hospital would be strengthened by the bill. Again, no direct answer. Instead, Bessent said he was not from Health and Human Services and would get back to the committee. This is significant because rural hospitals operate on thin margins. Many rely heavily on Medicaid reimbursements. When coverage is cut, those hospitals often face staff layoffs, service reductions, or complete shutdowns. That does not just affect patients, it affects local jobs, emergency response times, and entire regional economies. The conversation then turned to tariffs, which were described as taxes paid by American consumers. This is an important point viewers should understand. When tariffs are placed on imported medical equipment, the cost does not disappear. Hospitals, especially rural ones, pay more for supplies, and those costs often get passed along or force further cuts. So when lawmakers discuss tariffs and healthcare separately, they are often ignoring how closely connected those policies really are. If this kind of context is helpful, make sure you subscribe for more reporting that connects the dots. Next came the question of who benefits most under the bill, billionaires with complex tax returns or working parents with a single W-2. Secretary Bessent argued that in percentage terms, working families gain more, but outside analysts, including nonpartisan budget groups, consistently find that the largest gains in absolute dollars flow to the wealthiest households. This is where percentages versus real dollars matter. A small percentage cut on a massive income still dwarfs a larger percentage cut on a modest salary. Understanding that difference changes how you hear claims about fairness. The moment grew more heated when the congressman asked whether Secretary Bessent himself would benefit from the bill. Rather than answering directly, Bessent referenced the election and called the bill an extension of existing law. To many viewers, that sounded evasive. Whether intentional or not, it underscored a broader frustration voters feel when officials sidestep personal accountability while overseeing policies that reshape the tax code. Finally, the exchange ended with a question about housing supply and whether earlier tax cuts actually increased it. That question remains critical today as housing costs continue to squeeze families nationwide. Tax policy, interest rates, and supply incentives all play a role, and hearings like this are often where those links should be clarified, but too often they are not. So what should viewers take away from this moment? This was not just a heated back and forth. It was a window into how complex policies are defended, how language is used to avoid uncomfortable answers, and how the consequences of legislation can be very different depending on who you are and where you live. If you want more clear, human-centered breakdowns of political hearings like this, subscribe to the channel and stay with us.